Hi, we're going to talk about our time on UPN and why it wasn't the greatest. Now, UPN, which is no longer around, it's now the CW, and WB22 is no longer around anymore. That's 20 to point, or whatever it is now. So, UPN gave my show dead time slots. Why? Because it was cheap to put it on at that time, and they didn't have to worry about anyone else getting their time slot bumped, for another another show which never been on before. And being on at a dead time slot, it didn't do very well for any looking or watching that my show was or was not getting. And that also meant the streamers, the businesses that were buying time during that show, sadly, they weren't getting their shit looked at either. But then again, UPN was a mismannered farcier folkwork arm of CBS at the time, and sadly, they were always mismanaged their whole time they were around. And due to me having our show having a bad time slot, it was dropped halfway through the two with following. Not only by UPN and every UPN there is, our UPN at the time was UPN 9 between, and he's in WB dropped it as well, and our WB was WB22. But all of them did drop it. And a lot of folks thought that UPN would have, done right by our show, but sadly, they did not. And so our show didn't do so well with UPN. I would think that some folks may have been watching it, but need be not. Maybe some folks were still asleep or waking up. And maybe some folks were having their film players set it on time film. Well, who knows? So UPN did not do very well by our show, and due to that, it had a bad time. Now, some UPNs may have put it on at a good time. Now, you could say 6 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning, kind of a little bit bad time. You could say 7 in the morning to 8:30 and 7:30 in the morning is all right. And that was how our time went. You have anything to say? Well, Sailor Moon, thinking back at our time on UPN, it was the first time that our drawing show had ever been in the 4-1 Reichs. And yes, a lot of folks will bring up the skimming and the shifting that the Walt Disney business did when they owned Deep Glee at the time. And we're not going to talk about that because we already made a film talking about those things. And it wasn't those things that was a shift off either. Putting our show on at a bad time slot, dead time, would have made a show a shift off for anyone. Some folks may have missed it because they were still asleep, or they've been just in waking up. So right there was a bad time slot. And it wouldn't have cared if our show was skimmed or not. And why the ownership and leadership of UPN told them, why would they think that 5 or 5:30 in the morning or 6 or 6:30 in the morning was a good time for a drawing show or a drawing film, which up until then maybe some folks heard about but never saw up until then. Why would they do that for? Was it that they didn't like Sailor Moon, so they wanted Sailor Moon to look bad? So they could say, I guess folks aren't into, Far Eastern Dawnist drawing shows, I guess. Well, who knows what the grounds for that was. All we know is it's that the time didn't come in, and Nelson would say, oh, well, you don't got a lot of folks watching. You have film players set to time film, and very few folks are watching. And even if there were a lot of folks watching, because not every UPN did this, but a lot of them did. And it made it look like that my show didn't work out. Our show didn't work out. Well, yeah, Tuxedo Mask, Evening Wear Hind, yeah, Darian. I mean, it wasn't like WB was doing any more good by our show either, because WB was guilty of the same things. All right, they may have been handled a little more. They may have been handled a little more good, but they weren't doing any more good by our show because they were putting it at weird times too. And that's why my show didn't do so well. My time on UPN and WB was not so great due to that. And then another film we will talk about our time on USA and our time on Cartoon, and that's coming up in the next film. So give this film a like, share and playlist it, and we'll see you later.